wanted to know about seed potatoes or how to plant potatoes or anything about potatoes, keep watching, because we're about to start cutting our seed potatoes, and it all starts with bringing the seed in a semi. Now first we have to turn everything on so it's ready to go. Turn our belt on so that starts to move. Now we'll go up here and we'll back the semi up. These semis don't have very much on the back to give you room, so you really have to stop them right when they're in line and ready so they don't run into the stinger. And a little bit more. That should do. We'll be right there. Lift this up. Should be perfect. Oh yeah. That'll do. Ever wondered what a seed potato looks like, or a potato seed looks like? Well, it's just a potato. Now, there's lots of different sizes, as you can see. There's bigger ones, and there's little tiny ones. The little tiny ones you don't have to cut, but the big ones, you have to cut them into a couple pieces so they'll actually fit in the potato planter. So that's what we're getting ready to do. We're unloading these, and we have to transload them. So we'll unload into here, and then we'll put them in 10-wheelers. And then we'll take them over here to the cellar and back them in, and we will put them on our seed cutter. Sorry if it's a little bit windy out here. Next thing we got to do is we got to get our piler in place to transload. So this is where we bring all of our 10-wheeler trucks so we can put them into a smaller truck that will fit into the cellar better, because the semis don't like to back into the cellar because it's kind of a weird angle. Now that that's in the right spot, I can go ahead and hit start here and get the belts going. Turn this on, and here they come. Now we can put them into the truck. Now these all have variable speed belts, so as the potatoes come on here, it speeds up. It's kind of nice. Now if you're wondering the variety, these are Norkotas. These potatoes will be going into boxes, and you'll see them in grocery stores. We'll cut these up, plant them, and what grows will be in grocery stores as fresh potatoes. Now I have to come back here and fill up the truck. I try not to drop them very far, we don't want to bruise them. But we'll fill these trucks up pretty quick, then we'll go down in the cellar and I'll show you how they cut them. Standing over here off to the side, I can get a nice view and load it up good without spilling any off. Okay, we got that truck loaded. Now we're gonna back this truck right here up and start loading him too. Just as he got done, we're gonna get this all squared away so he can pull away without breaking anything. We like to lower this down so they don't accidentally back up and hit it. When we go get all this turned off, we'll go load that other truck. Probably not quite enough in there to fill a truck, but we'll fill what we can. The only thing that doesn't turn on is this bin. We have to come up here and we have to push this button right here. Right, semi's empty, trucks are full. Let me take you down to the cellar and show you what we got. We've got our loaded trucks right here and right here, ready to back into our cellar. This is our seed cellar. It's about 70 years old. Now Back here we back up to the cutter. Trevor's here. He takes samples every so often and he weighs them and puts them out on this chart so that he knows what size of seed we have. So we have 1 drops that have not been cut. That's these little guys. And then you have the different size of cuts. So he weighs it out, measures it, puts it here, and that way he can see what size of potatoes we have and if we need to do any adjustments to the cutter. Now right here we have the truck unloading onto the cutter, and it has to go really slow because this cutter is really old and it gets clogged up really easy if you go too fast. So there's 2 different levels to this cutter. Here's the top level. Now on the top level, you have different sets of rollers. So right here, they fall, and anything that is little will fall straight through right here and not get cut. They'll go straight to the bottom and go out the back. Right here, now these are a little bit spaced, a little bit bigger. So the ones that only need to be cut in half, so the ones that are just about this long, they just need to be cut in half, they'll fall through here, and all the big ones will roll onto this. And then they'll roll back into these knives. Now you can't really see them right now, but there's a whole bunch of knives right there. I'll show you the ones on the bottom level here in a minute. But the ones that go right here, they'll be cut in half this way, and then there's a flat knife on the back, and then they'll also be cut that way too. So they're actually cut multiple times when they go through this top level. Now right here, you can kind of see that's where the 1 drops fall through that don't get cut. They're just the little guys. And then the little bit bigger ones, they'll drop through right here onto these, and this will separate them again. So if there's any 1 drops that made it through to here, they'll fall through to the bottom. Now these are the ones that they'll just get cut once. So they roll, these rollers right here, how it rolls, they kind of roll backwards like this, and that actually lines them up. So if you can see then they fall, they kind of tumble, well then this lines them up so they're facing like that. So when they get down here, they roll into these knives, and it cuts them. The knives are about 1.5 inches apart, so it cuts them in about 1.5 inch pieces. Now on the back here, up here, you can see this is the blade that cuts them in half once they've gone through. Now that's the top one. They drop into this chute and come down, and then they come out here in the bottom with all the rest of them. Now we have a little conveyor here. That's where all the chips fall. Where the little tiny slivers. The little tiny slivers, we don't want to plant those. They won't grow potatoes, so they just go out the end into a dump truck. Now anything that doesn't get cut will go onto this table. And we have all these guys here, and they pick up all the ones that didn't get cut, and they cut them on these knives to make sure that every potato gets cut. Now the reason we want the potatoes to be cut and to be the right size is for the planters, because the planter only has a cup on it about this big to suck that seed potato onto. So if it's too big, it won't stick on, and if it's too little, it won't plant anything, it won't grow anything. That's why we got to cut them. We try to get the right size. Now after these guys, it goes into our treater. So this is a treater. It takes this wet chemical here, and it puts on top of it. The reason for this is for disease control. We don't want any disease or anything to happen to our potatoes, because then they might not grow anything. So they grow in here. There's this little pump. It pumps the treater into this bin, and it has a little thing that spins around, and it just flings out, makes a mist, and gets everything nice and wet. Now out of that, you have all the seed come out. just tumbles that sawdust around inside there and sticks to that wet and dries it up a little bit. So when it comes out the back of here, it's a little bit wet, but it's dusty. And they're just cut into nice little pieces of seed. If I can grab one, it's moving kind of fast. See that? It's just cut. This just goes up, comes back, and then we pile them back here. So the reason we like this cellar for our seed potatoes is because you don't want to pile them very high. Well, with this cellar, it's not a very tall cellar anyway. But here's the finished product. Just a whole bunch of cut seed. So after you cut the seed, you want to let it sit for a little while. It takes us about a week, maybe a week and a half from the time we start cutting seed to the time we're done cutting seed. So by the time we actually get done, then we move right into planting, and it's been the seed that we take out, we actually take out from the back. So that seed has been sitting there for over a week, and that helps it dry up, and it actually helps a little scab form on the spot where it was cut. And that way, when you plant it in the ground, there's less of a chance for a risk of disease to get in. Because you think about, like, if you cut your hand, if you had an open wound on your hand, and you went and started working in the garden or something before it healed up, there's a good chance you're going to get an infection. So we want that cut to heal before we plant it in the ground, so we don't get an infection in the potatoes. So that's the whole operation from start to finish as far as seed cutting goes. Now this takes us about a week. We cut 22,000 sacks this year is what we have to cut. So we are about half done, so we have a little bit more to go. This is a very old machine, but it works so well that we just keep fixing it. This works almost better than the new ones. Now the one last thing I haven't shown you, this is our dump truck full of chips. So it's just the little tiny slivers of seed. Now some of the most commonly asked questions that I get about seed potatoes, the most common, everybody wants to know why we don't just plant our potatoes that we grew from last year as seed. And even though those would grow potatoes, they wouldn't be certified, because you want your seed to be grown in a seed area that's disease-free. So by replanting our own potatoes, not only would they not be able to be certified, they would be weird looking, they'd be shaped funky and have knots and stuff on them. They wouldn't be good looking potatoes. So we don't want to replant our own. Another reason is the potatoes are grown in generations. So the potatoes that we're getting that are in these trucks are the 4th generation of potatoes. Now, the 4th generation is what you plant as seed. What we pull out of the ground with these potatoes will be the 5th generation. So we don't want to plant the 5th generation because then it wouldn't be certified and it'd look weird, and so we don't want to do that. So we have to get new seed potatoes every single year just to replant. We can't replant our own seed. Now some of the questions that you guys wanted answered is, what kind of potatoes are these? What kind do we plant? Well, it varies from year to year. Last year we grew Russet Rangers because those are what people want for process, for making potato flake and things. These are going to fresh, so we don't want to do Russet Rangers. So these are all Norkotas. Now there's a whole bunch of different varieties of Norkotas and different varieties of all the different potatoes. There's potatoes that are made specifically to make like potato chips. There's fresh potatoes, there's the Burbanks and the Norkotas, which is what most people see in the grocery stores and restaurants, is Burbanks and Norkotas if you get a baked potato. And so we have 2 varieties this year because we spread a whole lot of manure on our ground. Well, not all potatoes like the manure, so we have 2 varieties this year. One of them likes the manure and the other one doesn't. So we have fields that don't have manure, we have fields that do have manure, so we're going to vary those potatoes on the fields that they like. And then another question was, have we tried to plant at night so pests don't find it, like mice? We've never planted at night, other than we've planted pretty late into the evening is all. We haven't really had a problem with like mice finding them and eating them, and we don't really have rabbits or anything like that out here, so we have not had a problem with that. And as far as fertilizer that we put on the potatoes while we're planting, I'm not sure how much we put on, but we use a squeeze pump to put it on at an exact rate. It goes right next to the potatoes as we put them in the ground, so that they have all the fertilizer they need for starting when they grow. It's just starter fertilizer. I'm pretty sure it's mostly nitrogen, but it is a mix, and I'm not sure what that is. I know our agronomist tells us what to use, and that's what we use. Another question that people ask is, why do we cut our seed? There are some people that you can actually pay for what's called a 1 drop, and that's just a small seed that is so small, it's small enough you don't have to cut it, but it's a lot more expensive. So we just get our seed in bulk, and then we run it through our cutter, because you want the seed to be about the size of a golf ball, maybe a little bit bigger, but that's about it. You don't want to be bigger than that, or it makes it hard for the planter to actually plant it. One of the other questions was, do you plant the eyes down? So on a potato, there's eyes. It's the little divots in the potato. That's where the sprouts come out that actually make vine and grow new potatoes, is on those little eyes. So the planter just drops them and they tumble, and then they're covered up with dirt. So any myth out there that says you want the eyes up, it doesn't matter. You can plant the potato upside down, sideways, backwards, whatever. It does not matter what direction the eyes are, because it is going to grow a potato as long as it's a good piece of seed. Now on average, it takes anywhere from 90 days to 120 days for the potato to fully grow, and then we harvest it. Now that's different depending on variety, because you have the little red potatoes that you dig early, or you have the Rangers that you want them to grow as long as possible because you want them to be huge. We have had some Rangers that are bigger than rolls of paper towels, bigger than footballs. Those are big potatoes. These ones, they will not get that big. We want them to be the perfect baked potato size, because they're going to grocery stores for you guys. Now I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you've never watched the channel, we are potato farmers in Idaho. So if you want to see the whole process start to finish of the potatoes growing, clear to harvest, and everything in between, we grow potatoes, grain, and hay. So you make sure to subscribe if you want to see all that stuff so you don't miss anything. And I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Here's one of our potato planters. We're getting ready to plant. Subscribe so you don't miss it.